And now, Hangar 56 Media presents Spike's Car Radio, a downloadable cars and coffee, hosted by writer, comedian, and automotive enthusiast Spike Ferriston. Now, here's Spike.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. How are you today? I'm here with Jonny Lieberman. I'm here with the real Zuckerman. Right now, Zuckerman is showing Jonny Lieberman some Outlaw Archive memorabilia. He's putting his mask on because Zuckerman is violating the 6-foot distance. We've got a great show for you today. We're just going to take some listener comments, some questions, some complaints. We're going to talk about cars. We're just going to wing it. You know what I did this morning, you guys? They're not even listening yet. This morning, you know how you wake up and you look at the news and you just want to... Oh, Zuckerman just walked through a wire. This is, like this. And you want to just throw yourself out a window?
Yes.
You read the first 3 stories every morning. You just want to throw yourself out a window. You know what I did? I put on the Yacht Rock because it's Yacht Rock season again. And Footloose came on. And here's a little bit of advice. As bad as life is, if the worst thing is happening to you right now, listeners, put on Footloose because it won't be so bad.
Are you going to dance in your panties? Is that what you're saying?
And I brushed my teeth as I was reading about the end of civilization, and Footloose was playing, and then life was like 10% less worse. 10% less worse.
You in your panties. I'm not enjoying
now
this
you're
vision.
Attributing your remark that no, I was not in my panties. I was not in anything. I was brushing my teeth.
Ew, you were naked?
I was getting ready to work out like I do every morning. And usually I don't feel better till after my workout. But the Footloose, I was laughing because I'm reading this horrible COVID death. It's getting worse, and Footloose is playing, and I don't know. It was, you know what? It was cinematically interesting. As long as we're going to go down, we might as well have some fun music.
Oh, we're getting there. Yeah,
the Yacht Rock.
The band on the Titanic will start playing. That's the Yacht Rock.
Here, look, Yacht Rock is here for us. Here's the one bit of good news. There's going to be a baseball season. That made me a little happy. I got excited about this. I just want to watch something normal.
Right.
Anyways, I'm
so
happy.
I found a way to really fuck my life up. You'll love this. So Lamborghini got in touch with me and they said, "Hey, we're doing this Lamborghini Lego kit. You want one? We're going to give them to certain journalists, and you build Legos all the time. Do you want this $450 Lego kit?"
Do you build Legos all the time?
Oh yeah,
you do.
Oh, I love.
Well,
Legos.
you have a 3-year-old, right?
Well, that's Duplos. No, I build like the big, $300 Technic sets.
You do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they're great. I built a 6x6 Unimog.
Well, nerd is what I was going to say.
Oh,
but
come on.
Do you
They're
really
awesome.
have the patience for that?
I
That's
love it.
amazing.
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
So does it relax you?
No, it's Technic Legos are so stressful. But I'm horrible in anything mechanical, and I hate working on actual cars. But I can look at my Unimog I built and be like, it needs a folding tailgate, and then instead of having to weld and get my knuckles bloody. In 2 weeks, if I have 10 minutes, I can make a folding tailgate.
Could be a meth smoker.
Could you work on cars if you liked it?
I used to. I hate it. Yeah.
Why? And because of the dirty nature of it and the dirty fingers?
It's very slow.
It is.
It's very.
But so are Legos.
Yeah, but they're quicker, and I always wind up with bleeding knuckles, and then
me too.
And then here's the other thing. I'm not that good, so whatever I build is not that good. So my repairs or whatever I'm trying to do, improvements, are half-assed, or less than half-assed, quarter-assed. So it wasn't a good hobby for me. But Legos are great. Anyways,
Lamborghini Legos.
Yeah, so I go, instead of sending me one, why don't you send me 2, and I'll give one away to my friends on Instagram, right? And I didn't really put much more thought into it, so they sent me 2, and I said, guys, if you want one, just leave a comment that says I want one. I didn't say make a friend follow me. So I picked up no followers, and 3,000 people have said they want one. So now I got to write down 3,000 names, which I'm estimating is a 36 hours of my life to write down each name, going off my phone onto a spreadsheet.
And then
I got to ship the fucking thing.
But you're going to ship 3,000 of these?
No, just one. I'm going to do a raffle.
You're going to do a raffle.
Yeah, but I got to write down the names. Like, you know how it takes to write
Let's
no,
just
you
pretend you wrote down the names. So just pick a fucking name and send it.
What are you talking about?
I
Just do
can't,
it right
who
now.
cares?
I'll pick a name at
What are you, a
random for you.
rabbi? Come on.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to actually randomize it, but like, I just...
Why?
No.
Why?
Yeah.
No.
You're not going to get in trouble.
Now I'm going to get
You're
in trouble.
not a game show. There's no law covering what you do on your Instagram.
It's like returning a shopping cart. I got to do it.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're
I
a
said
sick
I'm going to do
motherfucker.
it.
Jesus
He's
Christ.
really sick.
He's sick. Smoke meth. You'll be better. This level of obsessiveness.
I quit smoking meth years ago.
By the way, so as far as meth is concerned, the T-shirt, the meth smoking 87911 that was stolen from us a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, right?
Yes, months.
Is now a T-shirt on blipship.com. That
Saw
lovable
that.
meth head. We've got a whole thing. Smokey is the bandit. It's a delightful comic cartoony T-shirt that on a white shirt. It's lovely. You can go to blipship.com and order it right now. Please
yes.
do. It's a way to support us here at Spike's Car Radio while we remain commercial free for you guys.
And we can make
For another
light
10
of
minutes.
serious things like drug addiction.
But he was a good wheelman.
Yes, and he was
it's
a wheelman.
If you notice, Zuckerman, on the logo, it's all the stops he made, starting with your law firm and ending with LAPD Hollywood Division.
We must find him, put him in rehab, and make him a member of the
Give him
club.
a shirt. Give him a shirt.
We'll give him a shirt if we
Gotta
find
give
him.
him a
Anyway,
shirt.
it's good to be with you guys. Johnny Lieberman's
Yeah.
here. He drove in quite a contraption over
Yes.
here. Look at
Tough.
that American muscle car.
Yeah. So that's a Camaro SS, and it's
Black, red, and white.
It's
Red, white, and black.
It's a strange one because it's an SS, and the dealer has installed everything on the Monroney says dealer installed. Like the wing is off the 1LE ZL1 or ZL1 1LE. It's got all kinds of 1LE parts like suspension, and it's got Brembos. It's got the strut bar, blah blah blah. So instead of just getting a $45,000 1LE, they took a $43,000 SS and put $21,000 onto it, which you could get a ZL1 for that much money. So this car makes literally no sense. That said, it drives nice.
And what are you doing with this car?
This one I'm just driving
For fun. Because I look at your Instagram and I look at your driveway,
Yeah.
and we all have press cars, but Johnny Lieberman seems to have 7
cool
press
ones.
cars at once,
Yes.
all the time that
Yes.
change daily.
Yes.
How is that happening?
Well,
Not that and I'm not jealous of it. That seems like a lot to handle.
it's a lot.
The constant dropping and the picking up and the drive
Well,
store.
no, I'm telling
and-
you, so COVID's been magic in this instance is that they do touch-free drop-offs. I don't even have to be home.
Right. No,
I
that's
I
good.
got to make sure the key's in the cup
Yes.
holder, and that's been great.
But how many cars on any given day do you have in your driveway? Press cars?
Press cars 2.
2.
So I have a long-termer for Motor Trend, so that just lives there.
Which is?
It's Mercedes GLE 450. So it's a SUV.
So that's just something you can have.
That's for a year. I mean, I got to write I forget 8 or 9 stories about it, but yeah, I got it for a year.
But you don't have to lease a car for your daily.
Well, my wife does, and then I own 2 cars. So there's plenty of cars. There's lots of cars around. And then what I've just been doing is, okay, I'm locked down. I can't travel. I can't go anywhere, do anything. I live 8 miles from Angeles Crest, so I'm just going to book a car I can have fun on Angeles Crest with every week. And then our photographers need things to do, so then Motor Trend photographer gets it, and they get to do a photo shoot. I write a story. I got to keep working. And it's been great. It's actually worked out really, really well.
Wow.
Now, then we'll have normal Motor Trend duties on top of that. So, for instance, when everyone I think was getting really jealous, like when I had the Turbo S and the 720S.
Now, when
at
you
the
say
same
everybody,
time.
you mean me.
Oh, it wasn't just you. You were the most vocal, and maybe I'll say them. I'll give you
And
this.
people thought we were actually feuding over this.
I'll give you this. You were the most witty.
And it was funny. Didn't
It
you
was.
say that people were going, Spike's angry at you? And I was like, I was not angry. I was just having fun. Like,
It's
these are
funny
just press
how
cards.
The internet works, where
Yeah.
people really think that
Yeah.
like you're actually like want to repossess cars. Like you're not going to get the same fucking car in 2 days.
Oh, and what if I didn't? Oh, my.
I mean, Fair
What
and
would I do?
Fair and I have had this running joke for years, just because Motor Trend is it's the big dog in this industry,
Right.
So we get it first, and he will get it a couple weeks later. So
Right.
he's always like, "You get everything first," and it's just a joke because we
right,
do.
right.
But it doesn't matter. But
Of
yeah,
course
no,
it
I've
doesn't.
had some good shit. I've had some really good shit.
And this
It's
car.
been fun. And this car, you know what? I haven't taken up the crest yet, but lovely V8, naturally aspirated, 460 horsepower, and when you come off the throttle, it makes all kinds of good noises. So.
It's got to have the smallest side windows on any passenger
Small,
car currently made.
I was just telling Spike, though, I say the claims of its poor forward visibility are greatly exaggerated. The fifth generation car was terrible. You couldn't see out of it. This one's not so bad, except for the rear. Spike was trying to back me in, and he's standing behind it, like I assume waving his arms. I saw his belt. You cannot see
I was like, why
shit.
is he not doing anything I'm telling
You
him?
cannot see shit out of the car. Now, to be fair to the car, it does have a digital rearview mirror, which I turned off because I was putting on my sunglasses and I needed an actual mirror. But it has a video camera in the back, and it's a TV screen, which is good. It gives you a nice wide view and full color.
I
and
can
all
make
that.
sense of the dealer add-ons for you. I'm sure you can too.
Yeah.
I know how the economics work of that.
Sure.
Because the dealer gets 2 times on the parts, so the dealer
Right.
is he can discount and still make a profit on the parts he's added on.
And this is something that never leaves the factory. So that wing would never be on an SS.
Right.
That's only ZL1, 1LE.
Right.
So they made something kind of unique that, you know.
Yeah,
and
it's
if you're
cool.
look, if you're into Camaros, like that thing's pretty bitchin'.
Yeah.
I'm still struggling. So they facelifted it and made it horrible looking. And it was so bad that they changed it the next year, which never
Right.
That only happens to cars when it's an absolute disaster.
Right.
If something changes in 12 months instead of 4 years. So then they quickly did this front end, and I still think it's terrible. And the headlights are too cheap. But the car, like that platform's great. The car drives great. This is the new 10-speed automatic, which I've driven in the ZL1 1LE and just the regular ZL1. It's good. Muscle cars are allowed to have automatics. I'd prefer a manual, and I've driven plenty of these with manuals, but it's cool. It's
It
cool.
really, I like how it looks in the sense that to me it looks like a cartoon car. It looks like something
totally.
out of a
This
cartoon
guy?
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, something that you and I would have drawn.
Yeah, it's-
Like if you look at that door, the driver's side door, with respect to the window, it
Yes.
ain't right, right?
Yes, you're a
it's
tough
safe,
guy, yes.
but it ain't right. It don't look right.
Really, you could get hit by a Mack truck in that thing. That is a lot of doors.
Hey, did you hooked me up with Bentley, right? Was that on
I
an
tried
email?
to. I mean, did that happen?
No, I have not heard from them, and now I have a chip on my shoulder about it. That Bentley.
To be fair, the person that I talked to said, I will get to this. I have a family crisis, and it's a
Oh,
legit
dear.
family crisis she's dealing with.
Oh, that's good. Okay,
So,
good.
yeah.
So I didn't want to take it personally, but
No.
I thought if anybody was kind of a Bentley brand,
Yeah.
it would have been me and my listeners.
Fair enough.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a lifestyle match, and it's a Porsche platform.
Yeah.
And there's some excitement in this little triumvirate of
would
Porsche
think.
fans. Myself, Mr. Zuckerman, Mr. Seinfeld, who would like to experience this
Well,
car.
I'll give you my cousin, who's a successful attorney, who I'm sure you've sued or something.
Unlike
here
Mr.
in LA.
Zuckerman.
He was like, I'm gonna get a speedster. Could you find out about speedsters for
Oh,
me?
okay.
And then I got the Continental, the GTC, the convertible, and now he has that. He actually decided he's 60 years old. He said, you know what?
sourced that car from.
What's that again?
You sourced that car for him, didn't you?
I
or you
helped- I
arranged
got him
it?
a nice deal. From,
Did you take a piece of that when
I didn't get a
passes
piece,
through you?
but he's my cousin, and,
fuck
and
that.
he's helped us.
He's your cousin.
He's helped us out.
Is he a
You can take
Lieberman or what is he?
He's a mancell through marriage, but
Is he a Lieberman?
but he's done plenty for us. He's a very nice guy.
No, of course.
Yeah. He's helped us. He's done some legal work for us in the past. So.
Okay.
So
As
there
long
you
as
go.
get your money's worth.
I have, just a minute ago, and I've only
But
given
anyways, I just want to say that's
Go.
how cool the new Bentley is. Is that people legitimately looking at the Speedster said, you know what, I'll take this Bentley instead. So I think he made a mistake. I like the Speedster better, but the Bentley's very nice.
I asked our listeners, since I don't really have a format today and they don't have really anything to review, I was going to do the Indian FTR 1200 race replica, but I haven't really spent enough time on it just yet. I'll do it next
Is that
week.
a motorcycle?
That's a motorcycle,
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. So yeah.
It's a flat track replica new Indian that just came out that's bonkers. I mean, again, like I've been riding a 66 Triumph Bonneville and no new stuff, so now I'm riding new motorcycles. And so everything is insane, wonderful, and new, and I can't believe it has Bluetooth.
But I'd be more comfortable talking about, like, macroeconomic theory than motorcycles.
Yeah.
I know more
well,
about that.
I'm not going to review them in a professional way, nor do I think anybody wants me to. But I talk about my experience, and I'll get to that next week. So I asked our listeners just... complain about something. Give us some questions.
Grievances.
We'll throw something. They'll throw something on the table, and we will discuss. How about? All right.
I like it.
And Shoe 32 has a nice start for us. Shoe 32. I'm an '80s kid. Help me understand the Steve McQueen thing. His movies are arguably a snooze fest, and he had a few cool street cars, but had no real talent behind the wheel. Don't comment yet. Paul Newman, on the other hand, honed his racecraft over decades and won a ton of races while making amazing films, and is never mentioned in the same breath as McQueen, the king of cool.
Well,
now,
I think they're kind of interchangeable. I think a lot of dudes, mostly old dudes, that
first of all,
fetishize
Steve
those two.
McQueen wasn't a legit racer.
I don't know about racer, but the guy could drive. I mean, he spent weeks like that. Bullet. They spent weeks. Him and I forget the guy that played the baddie. He was a stunt driver in real life.
Well, he raced in a 908 too, wasn't it? The Flunder car. Where was it down? It came in second place
at Le
with
Mans.
a broken foot. Not at Le Mans. In America, the race before Le Mans.
They said
Sebring.
that had he been devoted his career to racing, he would have been a top racer.
I don't know any of that. I know that for Bullet, they spent 2 weeks at Willow Springs practicing, and they got so good that they were doing stunts where they could put their arm out of the window and touch each other's cars. That's how close they were getting. And then they practiced Bullet at Griffith Park up by the observatory. They were doing all the hill stuff up there, and then they went to San Francisco and filmed it. So the guy can wheel a car.
Okay,
that
here it
said,
is. It's this car right here,
Oh, what is that?
the 908K Flunder Spider.
Oh, that thing. Yeah.
So here he raced it to a second place finish.
McQueen did.
McQueen, yeah.
I mean, that's good.
908
Second place is good.
as I said.
Yeah. And by the way, the 908, that's a 1,600-pound car with a flat 8. I mean, that's a hard thing to drive.
They jam.
Yeah,
no,
and I don't even know what the
beautiful
Flunder
things.
Spider is, but it's probably even lighter because they took the roof off.
In '62, he was told, I think, during the filming of The Great Escape, that the studios would not allow him to race anymore. He had to make a choice.
Sure.
So he was forbidden from competitive racing in the very early '60s. It was only after success, and he created his own production company much later in the '60s or early '70s, that he was able to return to form. But my understanding is he was probably a better driver than Newman. But I'm not going to swear to that.
I mean,
Well, I
Newman
know-
didn't start till he was like old. Also,
Yeah, it's
and
true.
as we all know, you get older, you get slower.
I heard a story once about Newman on a racetrack in Florida, and I don't know if it was Letterman that told me the story or not, but Newman was sitting on the side of the racetrack in Florida and watching this guy with his brand new Boxster bop around the track, flying, showing off. And then Newman said, "Watch this," and he took out that tricked-up Volvo estate wagon he had that he and Dave built, and smoked him. Smoked the guy in the brand-new Boxster on the racetrack, and Boxster guy just left the track immediately embarrassed. They're both good racers, but you can't say that Steve McQueen was not a legitimate racer. You can't say that because he... forgive me because I'm missing this race. It was the 12 hours of Sebring.
Sebring
right.
before Le Mans. But look,
and
I would
that's
say
a broken foot,
Yeah.
second place finish with Peter
Heroic.
Refson. Is that who he had partnered?
I have no idea. But here's the other thing. I will say both those guys, and they're great, and they have enough props. No one ever needs to speak of either of them again, and they'll be legends forever. Walter Cronkite was racing like Maseratis and stuff like that. He just wasn't a good-looking actor, so no one cares. So... I don't know. I think like,
And for the '80s guys, my comment is that McQueen was more of the rugged guy, and Newman was more of the smooth dude.
yeah, polished. Yeah.
And again, the premise that The Great Escape, Bullet, The Getaway,
Le Mans.
should we just keep going? Le Mans, these Papillon, these are not good movies. These are not good movies?
Yeah,
How
by the
dare
way,
you, sir?
The Getaway is phenomenal. Like that's a great.
Yes.
Bullet's a little dull except for the race scene. Let's be honest.
He was he's the king of cool, a fabulous actor.
Also-
He's not your generation, so you have to understand that. But to the older guys, it's meaningful because here's a guy who's a Hollywood actor who then is out racing cars and enjoying life and buying these amazing creations. Now, a lot of people get caught up and think he owned these old cars. He was buying the new stuff. His Series 2A Land Rover was a brand new one,
Right.
His Speedsters, his 911Rs,
but even
these
his
were
stuff,
new cars to him.
and even his stuff no one knows about were cool. Like he actually had a Hudson Wasp.
Right.
So when he wanted to go get a 6-pack and a pack of smokes, instead of taking the XKSS, which would draw attention, he drove a Hudson Wasp. And the Wasp, it was a cut down Hornet, so it had the same engine as the Hornet. It was a short wheelbase Hornet, so super cool incognito car.
Yeah, he didn't have a salad dressing either. I don't know. If I had to make a choice, it would be Steve McQueen every time. I liked Paul Newman, but I love Steve McQueen.
I'm just saying there's other choices out there, but they don't need any more
for
press.
Actors.
They just don't need any more press. Like I did another podcast this morning, and I was saying that
Yeah, what is this shit?
my friend Shazad in London. It would do it early, but anyways. But I was saying that like those guys are overplayed. You don't the 80s kid doesn't have to understand. There's plenty of other interesting people that had cars. Idi
Then
Amin.
who's the next guy?
Idi Amin had 6 Citroen SMs. Come on.
And he had a
Amin.
600, and he had
Idi
600
Amin.
series Benzes too.
Oh yeah,
He was a real car guy.
Okay, let me throw this out to you.
genocidal maniac. But aside from that,
despot.
Yeah, but nobody's going to be buying Idi Amin's racing suit. Nobody gives a shit about Idi Amin. Right now, what is the next Steve McQueen? Who is the next Paul Newman? Anybody?
Paul Walker.
You really think Paul Walker's body of work is
I
worthy
don't,
of that?
But
no.
for kids today, he I think has something to offer to a kid today who is somebody in their teens or 20s.
yeah, and Walker did have cool taste in cars. I mean, they're selling them off now, but like he had some very cool
Who
cars.
else can a kid?
But
who
do you
else can a
think he really
20-year-old
walked the walk
relate
and
to?
talk the talk?
Well,
No,
I'm just-
I mean,
okay.
no,
Who does these
absolutely
days? Here,
not.
I'm going to give you an all man comment and say, who does these days? We don't relate
Well, that's
the
what
same
I'm
way.
asking you. You've got guys like Patrick Dempsey,
Old.
Yeah, but
who's
yeah,
legit,
Yeah.
who's
He's
won
legit,
Le Mans,
but
who's raced, is a
20-year-old
great actor,
doesn't relate
friend of
to
the
him.
show. What's that?
Yeah.
20-year-old
I mean,
doesn't
he's-
relate
yeah,
to
he's-
them.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the future, Zuckerman. The future. The Steve McQueen thing happened decades after Steve McQueen was
I'm
gone.
just trying to say we can ignore it. There's no need to keep talking about the Steve McQueen thing. And there doesn't have to be a new one either.
No, I know. Well, that's what I want to. Who's that next one? Whose keychains are we buying next?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Not
if there-
Machine
Paul
Gun
Walker's.
Kelly.
Who?
Travis Barker, Machine Gun Kelly.
Not
I
Idi
mean,
Amin. Travis Barker.
that's what I'm saying. I don't really.
I don't
Hey,
know.
yo, by the way, Travis Scott moved to my neighborhood. Did I tell
Really?
you that? The guy who ruined your BMW, did that ever get
We're
sold?
off the rails here. We're off the
No, we're not. No, this is good. I meant to
Weed.
say that to you.
Lots of weed. You smell the weed?
So that BMW may be coming up in my
he
hood.
can't drive.
Huh?
A stick. He doesn't drive a stick.
He doesn't. Wow, there's an
All right.
interesting little
What's-
comment.
give
right
us
there.
another grievance. We wore that into the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you think about that and get back to me on, is there any new Steve McQueen coming down the pipe? Because I want to buy all of his sunglasses right now. All right. What car brands won't survive the pandemic?
Uh-oh.
Mitsubishi and Chrysler come to mind. Maybe Xfinity as well, says Jack Ringer. Thoughts?
I think it would probably be a British brand. I think McLaren's in a lot of trouble.
Really?
Yeah, they laid off 1,000 people and they only had like 4,000 to start with. And they're in a lot of trouble. Aston Martin, I mean, you all heard Tobias Moore from AMG is now the new CEO starting in August. But, their stock price went from $19 a share to 37 cents a share. It's up to 90.
So wait, if McLaren turns the lights off, does that mean the company would go away or just...
Well, McLaren has 3 prongs of their business, right? So they have the passenger cars, they have the F1 stuff, and then they also have data acquisition, which no one knows about. But for instance, like when you run an F1 car, you're collecting 500 data points at the same time, and then you want to say, hey, if these 7 things happen in this order, that means the transmission's going to blow up. So they have this way to get information and process it. Well, it turns out if you have a sick person in a hospital, you want to monitor a bunch of data points. And if these 7 things happen, they're going to have a heart attack. So alert someone. So they have this other business, which I think is hugely profitable. They don't talk about it because it's not car related. So the passenger car part could go away, but the F1 and the other part could stay. But they laid off like 1,000 people. I mean, that's humongous. That's bonkers. Yeah.
Don't not Morgan. They have to stay around.
Yeah, Morgan's 4 guys with a hammer. They're not going anywhere.
4 guys with a Manny Mo Jack.
Yeah. I mean, Mitsubishi will never go away because I feel strongly that for the last 30 years, they need a loss leader for tax purposes. So they just like, how do we lose $80 million a year?
Right.
Have cars in America.
They have so much other stuff going on, heavy industries and
coffee,
ships,
beer, and saxophones. I mean, like airplanes. They're fine. So they need a write-off basically, and that's Mitsubishi North America. So I mean, that I think they're fine.
What about things like Nissan, Renault, and
I mean, Nissan's in a lot of trouble. They've. I mean, aside from the whole Ghosn fiasco, which turns out, by the way, they weren't framing him. He was totally set up, but he did hire like Secret Service guys to sneak him out in a tuba box, which is insane.
Coming to Netflix soon.
Yeah.
I want to watch that show. That's good.
But they have problems. I mean, their products have been way less than stellar for a long time. Mm-hmm. Infiniti, everyone thinks that they're in trouble because enthusiasts aren't turned on by Infiniti, but they do move a lot of metal. They sell a lot of cars because, if you can't afford a BMW or you don't qualify for a BMW lease, well, you can get an Infiniti one. It's a little cheaper product, and they'll lease it to you for a little bit less money. I would look at I don't think Chrysler's going anywhere, but like Fiat's in a lot of trouble in the U.S. They have no products. Alfa Romeo's in trouble because they have 2 wonderful products that no one will buy, except for me. I'm going to buy a Giulia very soon. But anyways, yeah, I'd say those are the ones I'd worry about are small, not a lot of volume imports. So
how many times has Alpha left the U.S.?
Just once. They left it once. And they came back. It took them 20 years or whatever. But
do you like the Giulia?
I'm buying one. Yeah, I love it.
You are?
I think it's the best sedan in terms of driving. Yeah, just the way it drives. I think it's the best one.
What about the electronics? And
they're fine. There's
wow.
There's not. It's not the greatest navigation system in the world, but I never buy a car.
I've never heard anybody like this car. I've seen them.
The Giulia?
Yeah.
Oh, they're
I've
incredible.
wanted to like it. I haven't driven one.
They weren't built well, and they're kind of problematic. And
I mean, look.
Keep that mic right on your mouth. There you go.
You don't think it's picking me up?
I want it nice.
All right.
So I
will say this. What happened when they launched the Giulia was they had this idiotic software in there that said if there's any fuel starvation, put the car into some kind of limp mode to protect the engine. So when journalists start driving the cars, and as you know, journalists tend to drive differently than people that actually buy cars.
Yep.
Because it ain't their car, so they go nuts with them. So when the fuel level got to about a quarter tank, you get some fuel starvation. Just the way the fuel pumps worked, and it would go into a limp mode. So people interpreted that as the car is broken rather than the car's doing exactly what it was programmed to do. I was told this by a Dodge engineer who's like, yeah, they really fucked up with that. They have changed the programming from the early launch cars, and they aren't actually doing that anymore at all. Mm-hmm. We had it was our car of the year a couple years ago. We had them for a year. It was trouble-free. We had a Genesis G70 that had a ton of problems, so I don't think they're actually more unreliable than anything else. And also for me, the way I buy cars is actually for a car like that, I lease it.
Right.
So it's not,
they are cheap right now.
It's not really my problem. And, I'm buying a Giulia TI, TI Sport maybe. I can't remember what it's called.
What color?
Light blue with red leather interior and yellow brake calipers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
All right. I want to see that car.
car.
Name Tech is the last guy to learn. He's asking, why aren't you guys on the Podcast One app yet? Anymore.
I asked the same question 2 days ago.
And I said, well, because we moved a long time ago, and we're everywhere else now. Podcast One actually, as much as we love them, they kind of limited where we could be, and now we're everywhere but the Podcast One app.
Right.
And just look anywhere, you'll find us, from Google Chrome to Spotify to iHeartRadio to Stitcher to here to there to everywhere.
ask,
Try
because-
and keep up, and look at my Instagram feed. It's there every week with a link. Yes.
Because I have no idea. How does your podcast do? I think this is my fourth appearance.
We do quite well.
Yeah?
Yes.
I've never listened to a podcast, so I have no idea. I just appear on
I don't listen to them either after this moment. But yes, we do well.
them. Okay, good. Good.
We are growing every year. We have a bunch. We're a mostly male audience.
Yeah,
About
that's a
90%
problem. Yeah.
men. No,
Yeah.
it's not a problem. It's actually good.
Is it?
There's a whole segment of advertising that opens us
I
up
see.
to. That's
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
We're upscale. We are 18 to 40 heavy.
Okay, that's good. That's supposed to be
18
good.
18 to 34 is where our big segments are, and then
Okay.
24 to 45, whatever.
This sounds
But
like
we're
my
mostly-
Instagram feed. Yeah.
What's that?
That sounds like my Instagram feed.
Yeah, it's kind of like this.
I think I'm 95% male.
We
sadly,
could open
but-
ourselves up to a bigger female audience if we tried.
And sell what? You always pay.
We don't sell anything,
Cars.
Zuckerman.
Women. 51% of car buyers are females. So.
Yes, and the plan.
But do they buy like us?
No.
They have a different. They have a different.
I mean,
criteria.
some do, and by the way, if you encourage them, more would.
Wow, let's be encouraging.
What we want to do is build. Hangar 56 had a plan to build out a studio and start doing YouTube video and kind of build the thing out before the pandemic hit. So
the pandemic's
now
a
we're
bitch.
kind of floating around waiting. But there's a site in the works, the new Spike's Car Radio site. Zuckerman, I'm going to give you your own blog space to write your horrible things. We'll have 24/7 merch going up. It's going to be good, and fans can interact
I do
and have
want
a
to
good time.
market to women. 60% of women buy
Listen
the
to this.
wrong car. Do you know what that advertising line is?
No.
That is from the Always Pad Company. That say 60% of women wear the wrong size pad. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yes, that is a.
I heard it was like 99% wear the wrong size bra.
Really?
That's what I heard. I heard that
I
from
don't
a custom
actually
bra
believe
maker.
it, but what concerns me is that they find that to be a good marketing ploy.
This
to
is
convince
why
them they're wrong.
This is why women aren't going to listen, Zuckerman. It's
Then
conversations
take
like
it
we
out.
just had.
Take it out. Take it
I'm not going to take anything out.
I'm just wondering why.
I'm just telling you that's why they're not going to listen. Is to
At
At
listen
least you're
to
self-aware. One of you
Lieberman
being
and
self-aware
Zuckerman
is a
discuss
start.
bras and women's underwear.
But one
and tell
of
them
what's
why
wrong
they
with that?
selected wrong.
One of you being self-aware is a good start.
Yes.
One.
60% of men wear the wrong size shoes. 60% of men wear
yeah,
the wrong
hey,
size
come
underwear.
on.
Is that true? Do you wear the wrong size? 60%?
No.
I wear the right size shoe. That
I
I
just
know.
Where do you
Find
get
that-
that stat from? What's your sourcing?
I'm just saying that stat on the. I was there at the pharmacy. I looked over at the number of female products, which is more. Okay, first of all, is the number of stomach products.
What were you
is
really doing?
remarkable. 60. The number of stomach products. How many people have diarrhea or constipation?
100%, it
is
turns out.
remarkable.
No, I know.
And then I look over at the pads, and there's just so many different kinds. And I see the always thing says 60% of women wear the wrong
pads
size
with
pad.
your
yeah, but
accent.
that's an ad.
I
It's
understand,
not.
but
It's
what
not a
kind of-
factoid. It's an ad.
Well,
you can
Why
say
would
anything.
that work? I would
Right. What he's
reject-
saying
I was-
is, he's saying that if you tell men you're stupid, they probably won't buy the
Right.
product from the people saying you're stupid. Where he's saying that maybe
Thank you.
women, because they're marketed to so horribly, that they might say, "Oh my gosh, I made a mistake."
would
So how does
reject
that
that.
ad work? That's
I don't understand because if I saw that, I'd
60%
say that's
wear
I'd
the
say-
wrong
well, I guess
size.
I just hear stupidity. How could they? If you say
They don't
it
follow.
happens
They don't follow that up, but go. But that's why you
12
Yeah, yeah, they do that. He's
12
leaving that
times
out.
a year. If you did something 12 times a year that you had to change, I don't know, 40 times in every
Oh, my
cycle,
God.
or even
This is
or
not
even
what Spike's
15
Car
times.
Radio is supposed to be.
Would
It's
you
not Spike's
know
menstrual.
what to use. If I had a cycle,
This could be the breakthrough segment you're
It's-
looking for to
this is-
change.
You think
your
this is going to bring
demographic.
women to the podcast?
if I had a fucking cycle that consistent, I'd be an expert.
I don't know. Look, I would say so far everything you've done has not worked.
Correct.
So
That's
50-50, it could go, it
So
might.
maybe
It might.
this is experimental
I
segment.
think women
Yeah.
should reject the always company. I think that they're the biggest experts that are there, not some fucking company. They're doing it all the time.
I think the three of us talking
They're
about
making accusations
yes, they were
that
telling
you
women
don't
they're
know how to
stupid.
pick your own pads.
Yes.
I,
You're
I
dumb.
think the three of us though talking about menstrual stuff is like it's a real breakthrough.
I
We've
just
really
if
really crossed over.
Right.
Yes,
It's like
into
Malcolm
perhaps-
Gladwell's tipping point. By the age of 20, these women know what the fuck they're doing with their pants. They don't need to be told.
So that's what you're
They don't
doing,
need to be
Zuckerman.
told.
I also like in this day and age where you're walking inside and you have to wear a mask, and most of us are trying to get the fuck out of these stores. You're considering menstrual pad advertisements and stopping and scratching your head.
Yes.
Instead of just getting out of there before you die
Yes.
from a
There's
virus.
a lot
You're
here.
waiting for your pills from the pharmacist.
We have
and you look
unpacked.
at
We have
this.
unpacked a lot today.
Yes, you look at this.
What pills are you getting from the pharmacist? What's
All
wrong?
of them.
Are you all right?
I sometimes have GERD. I have to get my Nexium tablets.
I see. Right. You
I get
can't
the-
get
I
one
get-
of those mail-in
I get
prescription things?
I'm old-fashioned, Ferriston. You know that. I just
Well,
I go-
some you got to pick up at a pharmacy.
Not anymore. You can just have them mail the prescription to you every month, so it just comes to you, right?
You know what? You're talking. I'm at least 2 decades behind you in how this shit works. I go to the pharmacy. I say hello to Joseph, the pharmacist, and Yesenia, the
Yeah,
assistant.
I'm
I
with-
like the human interaction.
Sell me some of those rubbers, Joseph.
and then they
Got
sell
any rubbers?
Yeah,
I
moon
need-
pies they have there.
What?
They're moon pies sitting on the counter.
What are those?
It's an East
Moon
Coast.
pie. I know moon pie. You
It's
know
an
moon
East
pie.
Coast
You're
thing.
buying snacks at that counter?
I would not now, but pre-COVID.
God damn.
They're wrapped up. I mean,
Your
you know.
life has just taken a weird right turn into insanity today.
And I think I'm feeling very sane. You should see me yesterday. Yesterday
You
I was
are.
fucked
I know.
up.
You seem really calm and sane. I was going to say until this moment where you're discussing your evening
I
activities
want you to go.
in
I want you.
pharmacies.
I want you to go. I want you to ask your wife. Do 60% of women really wear the wrong size pad?
I'll get slapped
Why? It says it on the box.
because no. I'm not going to do that. The same reason. This is why we don't have the female list. They don't want to hear me talking about these
no,
things.
I believe in them. I believe that they've done this thousands of times. They know.
I think that you're getting caught up in the minutia of it. I think the larger thing is that why is it effective to tell women they're
Exactly.
wrong? Whereas I think if you
Because
did that
what
to
if-
men, it would turn them
They
off.
would believe
Yeah,
they're
it's a cult-
wrong, and I
and
think
that's a cultural
the-
issue.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I agree with you.
Well,
You
can I-
nailed it 100%.
Because I think if I told my wife that, she might say, "Oh shit, I'm making a mistake." Whereas if somebody told me I'm wrong about something, you go,
Well, fuck
"Fuck
yourself.
you."
Yeah, so why is that
Yeah.
effective? Why
Well,
do women
cultural-
doubt
yeah.
themselves?
Yeah, right. Okay, so now that we've lost every woman,
I think I'm going to get a lot of women to say you're right, Zuckerman, because I'm standing up for women here. You may
are.
not hear it, but
Yeah,
I am.
You're in a gross and creepy way. You really are.
Yes.
I'm trying to find the rest of this ad so I can hear the rest of their sales pitch.
Well, I say we go
Oh, wait,
move
here-
on to another question before.
Yeah, no, the Always My Fit range of pads is designed to help the 60% of girls and women who are wearing the wrong size pad.
Bingo. Horrible.
Wow.
So it's Always. Well, maybe this is we can get them as a new
And
sponsor
we should
here.
get them as a sponsor. And I want to know, is their product designer a man? Because I bet it is. And so is their
because
advertising.
it has to do with leaks. Now 100% of
Why do you gotta
them
gross
can
me out?
change that with better protection. So what they're saying is their pads protect them better. The 100% of women,
You're
right?
explaining this to me now. Ferriston is jumping in to make
Yep.
sense.
I'm just trying to understand. I
to
do
make
like.
I can feel it going from 90% male to 91%,
92.
and then all the males leave.
I do like.
It's just like the mercury squirting through the top of the thermometer. It's just gone.
Yeah.
I just like the sales pitch. I want to know the ad meeting. I wanted to hear, they do have data. So they brought in data somehow through a survey and then said, we'll be this and this
They
is
brought
how
in
we'll
a
do it.
psychologist. They didn't bring in data. They said 60% of women are going to believe they don't do anything right, and that's the problem.
Really?
And I think yes,
it
is colonial.
is interesting
colonialistic.
because if you listen now, like on if you listen into satellite radio, every single ad is like, we've come up with new underwear. We've come up with new socks. We've reinvented this, but it's never for the male stuff. It's never like you've been wearing dumb underwear. It's like we've just have a better underwear.
Right.
So this is Procter and Gamble's always trademark here.
They should be fucking boycotted. This is insulting to women. Let's boycott.
We're walking away. We have a maxi pad boycott coming out of this podcast.
Coming out of this episode of the show? That's what's happening?
Yes, this is what everyone should get out of this.
Everyone or just women?
Also, but I want to get something. I'm going to go with Johnny here. I hate sucker mentality, these ads that say 3 easy ways to be a zillionaire. These are the 7 secrets that doctors don't want you to know. These are the 5 steps to be a billionaire in real estate. Sucker mentality. Don't get sucked in by sucker mentality. These ads that play to your worst instincts.
Is this a class action, Zuckerman? Could we get the women to listen to this podcast by filing suit against Procter & Gamble?
Here's the thing that I hate the most. They get the state of California legalized the lottery. It must be 25 years ago with the pretext that we will use the most illogical product, and we will say we're going to give money to education. What is the most antithetical thing to being educated? Is betting on numbers.
Look, the lottery is a tax on the poor. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
And but by the way, that was like 35 years ago.
And that's how old I am.
Yeah, and I don't think any of the money goes to, not much goes to education.
They put it in the general fund and they steal it. They don't give it to education.
Right.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, okay, more.
Rev Timmy B. Hyundai versus Kia.
Yeah.
Who is winning?
It's the same company. It's literally called Hyundai Kia.
But it's the South Koreans, and they are really making great cars.
They are. Yeah, I would say Kia has the momentum at the moment. They have 2 same products, different design languages, and I think the Kia design language really resonates more. Plus, they had the Stinger, which is sort of a halo product, so a lot of people are like, hey, that's a really cool car. And then, oh, hey, that SUV looks like the Stinger. And we know that, halo effect does actually move metal. And then you have, the Kia Telluride and the Hyundai Palisade. They're both
I like that
tremendous.
Telluride.
See? You like the Telluride, not the Palisade. Same car, different styling.
Really?
Yeah.
And but for some reason, the Telluride really registers
It's
on
killer
me.
because Peter Schreier, who designed the Audi TT and blah, 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 is the head of design for Kia. Yeah.
I see those here on the west side, so
Yeah?
it's Range Rover, and then suddenly the Kia Telluride starts showing up. I start looking at them, you can't find them because they're all getting sold.
Yeah, and they're super cheap. I mean, I think they start at $32,000 and whacked out with every feature there is. They're
And they're beautiful little cars.
Beautiful cars. Yeah.
Right.
We actually, that was our SUV of the year. And we gave Schreier our person of the year last year because of what he's just turned Kia around. Because Kia was a basket case cheap. Remember they had when they first came here, they had college kids as salespeople. That was their thing. It was just a
dude. Hey,
yeah.
You're wearing the wrong size pad. No, wrong product. Right.
Yeah.
You also buy the wrong size car.
So Kia's a bit ahead, I'd say.
Worst cars you've ever owned.
Oh.
Anybody jump in?
Go.
Owned.
Okay. Why don't you can broaden it? Owned, leased, or driven?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking. I've never. Okay. The worst car I ever owned was a Nissan. I came back from New York, and I really wanted an Xterra, and I was like 24, 25 years old.
Look cool.
And I was
funny roof.
I was a very irresponsible young man. And my credit sucked. I had a lot of money. My credit sucked. And I remember I went to buy an Xterra, and they're like, for whatever reason, they're like, no. And I was like, shit, I just moved back from New York. I really need a car right now. And they're like, we can get you into a Sentra. So I bought a Sentra. And I don't know the Sentra generations, but this would have been in 2001 when I moved back. That car, 2001 Nissan Sentra. And it was the worst because it just sucked.
Yeah.
Didn't break down or anything like that. It just was ugly, slovenly, slow, fairly big back seat because I used to have a lot more sex in cars back then, so that was okay.
Wow.
But
Now you're
Back then,
painting
I'm married.
60%
a
of men
second
have-
horrible picture
have
has
sex
been
in the wrong
painted.
size
well,
car.
I remember the back seat was all right, but aside from that, a miserable
Where do you
car.
have sex in a car, Jonny Lieberman?
back seat?
The back seat,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
the hatch.
I've done the front a few times, but back seat.
Ooh.
Look at
Risque.
Zuckerman.
Yeah.
I will tell you my
How
most
many press cars have you had sex in? That's the,
Oh,
yeah.
none. Have you had sex in press cars?
Yeah.
Look at him.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
What is?
I don't think I can talk about this publicly, but yeah.
What do you mean?
No one listens to this.
No one's gonna hear
three
you.
people
I'm not
listen.
going to
Go
say
ahead.
which press cars. And,
Oh,
you know,
no.
And I just, you know,
What about the 992 Turbo? Did you have
What-
sex in that
what's
last
better
week?
to have sex on?
define sex?
Okay, let's.
I need the Clinton
would
definition.
would you
of-
recommend leather, vinyl, Alcantara, or velour as the proper
velour?
surface?
Yeah,
Don't
velour.
have sex on Alcantara. That would be awful. That would
What
not
about
come out of
velour?
That's a
Alcantara.
bad idea. You're
Velour?
right.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, Alcantara
Ford
would,
Granada.
would be the one you don't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
have sex on. That's,
Why are you having sex in cars so much?
I used. Why aren't you? I mean, it's great because you're somewhere.
I
Let's-
did when I was in high school, but because there was no other place to go. It's not a
You
preferred
know, you're having
place.
a great time, and like you get in the car. You know, like,
Lieberman's an animal, a fucking animal.
No?
He's definitely beating
No?
Farrah. I thought Farrah was the bigger animal, but now Lieberman is the animal.
He's
What
fucking
an
in press
animal.
cars.
it's been
This
a
is-
while.
Sure it has.
Bunga time.
Bunga bunga.
Bunga party in a press car. And then he hands
They're
it
not
off to Farrah.
I always
sex
go
cars?
first. He's
Yes.
the one who calls it sloppy seconds, not
Yes,
me.
but how many have you given him?
Oh, I
That
don't
you-
give
that
him.
you've
I mean,
had
he
sex
gets- Oh,
in.
that I've had sex in.
Yeah, you got to make a point of this.
I mean.
You got to make a point to bare ass sex car
No,
over,
I haven't done this.
over
I mean, you know,
Farrah.
it's a long time. A long time. It's been a long
Get
time.
on it.
But you ask automotive journalists. This is like one of the things we talk about. Like, how many press cars have you? You know.
Really, it is.
Oh, sure.
Writer's
So it's
room.
a thing with automotive
I don't know if it's a
journalists.
thing, but you know,
a thing.
You've been in the business for 15
thing.
years, like you know.
I've been around a lot of journalists. I've not heard this.
Well, we
before.
have
well,
to- we
you
better
know, now that
scratch
you're
the-
Now it's
becoming
a
one,
thing.
Now it's a
now
thing.
that you're getting
I'm
all
not.
these press cars,
I'm never going to be you. I'm an enthusiast.
yeah, but you're getting
I-
press cars.
I am.
Yeah.
But as an enthusiast.
So you know, you go out to a nice dinner with the
You guys
missus.
know what you're talking about. I'm just a fan.
Okay, but you know, you're there.
I hear
Anyways,
you.
worst car you ever owned?
No, go ahead, Zuckerman.
I'm going to tell
jump
you
in.
my biggest disappointment, and it
Yeah.
wasn't a bad car. This will be polarizing. But there was a moment where I had 2 or 3 997 GT3s, and I got the squeaky brake 997 GT3. Remember that syndrome? And they could not get the squeaks out of the brakes, and it was so loud. You couldn't drive with the windows down. You had to have windows up, radio on. It was ear splitting. And so at a moment of disgust, I turned in my GT3, and I got an Audi R8 10-cylinder at a Spider. And visually, I thought the car was a 9 out of 10, maybe even a 10 out of 10. As a driving experience, a 4 out of 10.
And you had the Tiptronic or whatever they called the transmission. It was the single clutch.
No, I think I actually had a manual.
Oh yeah.
I think I did,
Okay.
but I'm not going to swear to it. What I remember though is being so underwhelmed by the feedback of the car. I did not feel a visceral feedback. It was so neutral. I could have been in a Honda for all I knew when I was in the car. When I looked at the car, I loved it. When I got in the car, I was fucking bored. I didn't think the engine revved with enough urgency. I just, the whole thing was a bore to me.
That's fair. I think those first gen R8s were kind of overrated in terms of performance. And the other thing was, if you didn't have the front tires at like 60 psi, which seems insane, the cars didn't handle right.
Really? Is
Yeah.
that what? Is that? 'Cause that's why I
And
just-
no dealer would ever. They never knew that for some reason. But you looked at the door sticker; it was like psychotic. It was like a Corvair. It was, you had the front tires at 60 psi, and you had to have the rears at like 35 or something. And so they were always set up wrong. And I remember one time at Best Driver's Car, it was actually the R8 GT, and you know, Randy was complaining about how it was understeering and it was a mess on Laguna Seca. And we're like, maybe we should lower the pressures from 60 psi to 40. Like, you know, that's still really high. And then he drove off on turn 6, and he never drives off the track. So it was,
Oh, my.
the first gen wasn't so hot. The second gen's real good, but the first gen, I agree with you.
That was a big disappointment to me.
Yep.
I think my biggest disappointment was this car I was trying to buy for 2 years. It was a 73 911S, silver black, like the right color, the right year, the right model. I had chased the car for 2 years. It is previously owned by LA Times founder Otis Chandler.
Oh, a
Yes.
Chandler car. Yeah,
And
I
nice.
remember it.
One night I got a call, and it was Sam, and he goes, "The car's for sale. Do you want it?" And I bought it right in that moment. And so I had never driven the car, and it was sent to my hangar, and it was delivered a week later. Hey, look. Hey, it's Tim Pappas. And
I'm in Pappas.
no, not right now. And we were, at the time, I had the Tangerine RS. I had a Conda Green 70S. I had a white 911T. I was almost all 911s. And so this car got delivered. I took it out for the first drive on the 405, and I could not have been more disappointed.
It was a beautiful car.
First of all, you never test drive a car for the first time at night. The suspension wasn't dialed in. What I didn't know about Otis Chandler, very tall guy, so he had the seats modified, the rails,
No
different
kidding.
rails
Yeah.
put on so that they were low. He had short shift gears in the transmission, which at the time and kind of right now, like I wanted this car because it was a preservation car, but it had been so modified. The whole thing was a disaster. There was crazing on the outside. The paint was all original, but
I like that crazing, but I
the
get you.
crazing, the whole thing. I tried to love it. I was doing that thing where you're trying to tell yourself you haven't just made a huge mistake. But the longer I owned the car, which wasn't long, about a month, the more depressed I got about it. And eventually, I sold that car to Bobby Rahal. I think it only had 25,000 original
He
miles
loves
on
it, right?
Yeah, I should never have sold it. I'm just saying, compared to the cars I had in the hangar, which were perfect kind of preservation cars, my head wasn't thinking straight on that drive, and I never loved it after, and I've always regretted selling it. Oh, the windshield was pitted. Again, it was all preservation perfection.
Right.
It's just I couldn't wrap my head around the little tweaks I was going to have to make it something that I like.
The car I like to imagine you in
What's
is when
that?
you got your first dollar and you bought a Maserati bi-turbo.
By Turbo. Yeah, I like that car. That was in New York. That was really
Did
fun.
that run? Because those are notoriously.
It did. Every Saturday, I'd put $2,000 in the mechanic.
Yeah.
I'd give the mechanic $2,000, and then it would run. Yeah, for 4 days.
$2,000 a week. That's great. Oh, you had to pay it out. Yeah,
I would
okay,
pay
yeah.
the mechanic
Yeah.
Saturday to fix it. I
Yeah.
would drive it during the week in New York, and then pay him again Saturday to fix it, and then drive it again. Now, you don't do a lot of driving in New York,
Right.
But
I live
whatever
there, yeah.
small drive I did, it would break down.
Well, that.
It was
Playing
a horrible
off this
car.
question and sticking in New York, my biggest regret was when I lived in New York. My boss, who was into bikes, but he had a 94 or 92. Sorry, it was a 928 GTS, and he used to let me. He wanted me to take it on weekends because he never drove it. He paid whatever it was back then, $5,000 a month to keep this car in a garage in Manhattan, and it never got touched. So I would take it on the weekends and drive to upstate or wherever. And I was moving to California. And he's like, "I'll give it to you for $10,000." The car had 10,000 miles on it, GTS, which is 5.4 liter, best of breed, 928. And I was gonna do it. And he goes, "I just want to tell you though, like you're getting it. If I paid $100 for it, you're getting it for $10. But I just replaced the window motors, and they were $700 each before labor, and that just scared the shit out of me. And I didn't do it.
Should have.
Yeah.
But I could have lived. I could have done it myself or junkyard window. Because there was a long time where the best 928 you could buy was $5,000.
Right.
Right.
They were littering junkyards.
I always want to like those cars.
Oh, they're so great.
The
They're
bi-turbo
so
I
great.
really wanted to like. It was black with a tan interior, had leather interior. It's everything. I'm a guy who doesn't really know anything about imported cars in that moment. This
Right.
is,
Yeah.
I've just moved to New York. I'm in my 20s and had this Cartier clock
Yeah.
on the
yeah.
dash, the height of elegance, a shifter manual gearbox, leather,
Right.
the word
You would arrive.
Maserati.
You would arrive.
Forget that
Trident.
Chrysler was involved in it somehow. And
No, that was a pure Maserati. That was. Yeah. I mean, Chrysler might have had some financial, but no, the engineering was Italian.
so that car was such a lemon.
Yeah.
That
They all were.
I think a year in owning it, Dave was like, he knew I had it, and he saw it one day, and he said, "What are you doing with that piece of shit?" And I said, how did you know? He goes, oh, God, they're horrible. And I said, well, I bought it off these guys, Stephen Kessler Associates on 34th Street. He goes, okay. And now he puts that away in his head. Maybe months later, we're shooting at Macy's on 34th Street, a remote, like Dave and Paul go shopping. And we're on an hour break. He goes, hey, let's go over to Kessler and get your money back. And so Dave and I walk down to Stephen Kessler Associates. They're thrilled that David Letterman is walking through the door, and they go, "What? How can we help you?" And he's like, "You sold this kid a shit box, and you need to give him his fucking money back." And they were like, "What? Well, which car?" The guy was just turned white, and Dave just hammered him to give the kid his money back.
Did you get your money back?
I did not.
Yeah,
they did not do that.
Letterman only goes so far.
No, but it was an amazing moment to watch the salesman kind of
Cower
when
you are a kid and he's your big brother.
They sold me this knowing it was a shit box. They didn't want to do anything about it when I called to complain.
Right,
and Dave just put him on notice.
Okay.
Real story.
That's good.
Real story. What a great guy David Letterman is. What good guys you guys are for showing up today. We're out of time. We've had some fun. We've done an hour. We've all have our days in front of us.
I got to go make some money.
You got to go make some money. Lieberman's got to do 7 other podcasts.
Yeah, I have more podcasts to do.
With
Johnny,
Shazam in London.
Thanks for stopping in.
Shazad, yeah. Yes,
well,
sir.
Anything you want to plug before we go?
I got nothing really to plug. Just go to motortrend.com and you can read about all these supercars that Spike is jealous of in my driveway.
I am jealous. Zuckerman?
I believe 100% of women wear the right size pad. I'm supporting all women.
I just want to. I love your pronunciation of the word pad.
Pad.
Yeah. I thought you were saying pant for like about 5 minutes.
Pad.
Why don't you start your own
I'm
line?
going to send you some pads.
The Zuckerman's pads. Fit all the time.
We're going to make them out of Lieberman's curtains. We're going to take the curtains
Custom
cut down.
fit.
Let me come take your measurements. Yeah.
I like how he's Ronnie the limo driver suddenly. That's great.
And if you want our newest shirt, you want to support the podcast, go to blipshift.com, the Spike's Car Radio store, and get our 87 911 Meth Head commemorative stolen car t-shirt. That's it. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to Spike's Car Radio, brought to you by Hangar 56. Listen to new episodes every Wednesday, and be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.